Welcome everybody to our first live stream of Lockdown 2021. Today we are going to be covering the government business support measures with Alastair Lloyd from Kendons. I'm Mark Scally, I'm the President and Acting CEO of the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce. As you can imagine, it's been a fairly busy time for us as the Chamber of Commerce the last week, working on your behalf. We've been very active in connecting with both of our local councils here in the Hutt Valley and with central government to make sure we're getting all the information we can and ensuring we're keeping you as informed as possible on what you need to know about what's going on, how you can operate, and the information that you need to know about subsidies. Look, we're really pleased to work with Kendons. Kendons are one of our platinum partners in the chamber. We've got a very long-term relationship with them. We work very, very well together, and they do a fantastic job in the industry and in serving business owners throughout the Wellington region. And today they're going to give some of their knowledge and advice on particularly the subsidies and financial support that's available. And we're going to have an opportunity for questions and answers at the end. Particularly, we're going to cover the 4 financial support measures. That's the wage subsidy scheme, the Resurgence support payment, the leave support scheme, and the short-term absence scheme. Look, Alastair's been working a lot on this the last week. He has been knees deep in all things subsidy and many, many other things. So I'm going to hand across to Alastair. He'll take us through, and towards the end we'll come back. If you have questions, just type them into the Facebook chat that you're in. We'll look through those and aim to answer those at the end. So again, thanks, Alastair. I'll hand it across to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, and thanks for the introduction there. Kendons has certainly been inundated over the last couple of days on the support packages that are available to businesses out there. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Alastair Lloyd. I'm an Associate Director at Kendons Chartered Accountants at 69 Rutherford Street. So let's just get straight in. I'm going to share my screen, so hopefully this works. Just bear with me for a second. So hopefully you can all see my screen now. Hopefully that's coming up. The slides are coming up now. So yeah, business support payments that are available. So the key ones that are available to you are the wage subsidy, the Resurgence support payments, leave support scheme, and short-term absence scheme. And as Mark's already indicated, there will be time for questions at the end. Just before we get in, just a disclaimer, this is just general information today, and there's no substitute for tailored advice from your trusted advisor. So just bear that in mind when we go through it. So first and foremost, the main one, you would have heard all about this through the media. The wage subsidy is back. Slightly different to last time though. So this time they're only paying out a 2-week period per employee. And thanks to inflation, the amounts now are $600 per week for an FTE, which is 20 hours a week or more, or $359 per week for a part-timer. That is 20 hours a week or less. And the qualification criteria has changed not a lot, but has changed this time as well. So the criteria this time round is you're anticipating a 40% decline in revenue, and the decline must relate to COVID-19. The comparison period you're looking at here, guys, is a 14-day consecutive period in the last 6 weeks. So just think about the 14 days you're choosing. So if you're a retail business, you're in hospo, you can pretty much choose any 14-day period because it's going to be identical to the 17th or 30th of August because it's daily sales. If you're a business that's doing claims at the end of a month, choosing the 1st of August to the 14th of August to compare to the 17th and 30th of August is not really a true reflection of what that would be in a normal month if we didn't have COVID. So it might be worth looking at the end of July, the last 2 weeks of July, to compare to your revenue to calculate your 40% decline on that. The other key thing that is in this one is you have to retain evidence on how you anticipated the 40% decline, and you have to keep this on record if you are going to be audited later down the track. So really important that you document how you've come about calculating the 40% decline, why you think you're going to get it, and then once we're out of the 17th to the 30th of August, I would be putting in the actual decline that you occurred in this period. And it has been very clear cut this time that if the 40% doesn't occur, you have to pay back the subsidy. You'll remember last time there was lots in the media about companies applying for the subsidy and getting the subsidy that met the didn't quite meet the criteria, or may not have met the criteria based on what their quarterly reports were saying about their income, but there was actually no obligation for them to pay them back. Whereas this time it's very clear cut in the declaration that if you don't have the 40% decline, if it doesn't eventuate, you need to pay back the wage subsidy. And same as last time, the wage subsidy must be paid towards wages. It can't go to any other costs. Some other criteria that is the same as last time: if you have no employees but are a shareholder of the company, then shareholder director of the company, then yes, you can claim the subsidy for yourself. Sole traders, yes, you can claim the wage subsidy for yourself as well. So that criteria is still there. If you are making claims under the 2 leave schemes, you can't claim the wage subsidy for those particular employees, and that is on when you first go to apply. It's quite clear. It says, have you received payments under the short leave scheme or the leave scheme? So just make sure you're not double dipping, because you can't, and if they were to check, they will come back and they will decline your application or ask you to pay the money back. So that's the wage subsidy. Obviously, the next one that's been all through the media, the Resurgence support payments. So the criteria for this is you must be operating a business in New Zealand and been in business for the last 6 months. And business is obviously same as the wage subsidy. It's a registered business, a sole trader, or a partnership, or a charity as well. They're in there as well. Okay. If you've received the wage subsidy, then yes, you can receive the Resurgence support payments as well. So if you're qualifying for both, I would definitely, and you need the money, definitely put the application in for both. So the criteria for this one is you have incurred. So this time we're talking about incurring. It has to be an actual loss before you can apply, of a 30% decrease in revenue over a 7-day period as a result of the alert level increase. And again, you need to keep evidence to support your actual loss. So this might simply just be a profit and loss, comparing it to a 7-day period to show the loss in revenue. So the financial support for this one is eligible businesses can apply for the lesser of 1,500 plus 400 per FTE up to a maximum of 50 FTEs. So that's a max claim of 21,500, or 4 times the actual revenue decline experienced. So for most businesses, it's going to be the first one, the 1,500 plus 400 per FTE. But if you're unsure, just speak to your accountant and they'll be able to help you out in terms of calculating which one is applicable to you. Okay, so that's the Resurgence support payment. So just in terms of comparing the two, so if you qualify for both support packages, you can claim both support packages. When we look at the wage subsidy, they're talking about an anticipated 40% loss of revenue over a 14-day period, versus the Resurgence package, which is an actual 30% loss of revenue over a 7-day period. So just bear that in mind when you're making the applications. Wage subsidy, it's anticipated 40%, whereas the Resurgence support payment is an actual 30% loss. Both are comparing a typical 14-day or 7-day period in the 6 weeks immediately before changes in alert levels. So that's 17th of August and 6 weeks before then, which would take you back to about the beginning of July. So just looking in that time period to find a typical period that aligns with the 17th to the 30th of August or 17th to the 21st of August. Sorry, not 21st, 23rd of August. Also on the Resurgence support payments, they open today, and they can be done through the IRD website. So jump on the IRD website and find the appropriate links, and you can make those applications today. Wage subsidy has been open since last Friday, and that is through MSD. Okay. The main thing on all of these is just make sure you're retaining evidence of your eligibility and documenting how you've come to about your conclusion of why you are eligible, and just keeping that on file just in case, one day out of the blue you do get a phone call or an email from MSD or the IRD asking you to provide some evidence of why you thought you were eligible for the wage subsidy or Resurgence support package. So that's the two main ones that we would have seen all through the media the last kind of couple of days. And they're probably the ones that are going to apply the most to businesses, given we've been at level 4 now for us just on a week, and obviously extended out to Friday for everyone except Auckland. So just, check your eligibility and make sure you are eligible before you apply, because otherwise you will be needing to pay it back. So the other support payments that are available, obviously the leave support scheme. So this has been in place since March 2020, with obviously the last round of COVID. Just on these ones, there is a lot more criteria to what I've put down here. So it would be best to obviously get in touch with MSD or your accountant to make sure you are meeting all of the criteria. But the two main criteria are they cannot come to work because they've been told by a medical professional or a close contact of a positive case, and they need to self-isolate, and they cannot work from home. So they're the two main criteria, but there is, when you go to make the application, there's lots of other little things you need to check off. So as I say, just get advice from MSD around whether you can apply for this, or your accountant, just before you go ahead and make a claim. And as I say, if you've made this claim, you can't apply for the wage subsidy. So just make sure you're balancing which one's most appropriate for your business. The leave support scheme, it's paid in 2 weekly lump sums per eligible employee, at $580 a week for a full-time worker, or $350 a week for a part-time worker. These haven't been adjusted for inflation like the wage subsidy has. So I don't know if there's going to be a change here from the government or not. But I guess we'll wait and see. But at the moment, these are the rates that are available out there. So on this one, if you need any further details, as I say, get hold of MSD or your accountant or your advisor, or just jump on MSD's website and read the full list of criteria, because there is quite a bit when it comes to the medical side. The next one and the last one available is short-term absence payments. So again, no change since this was introduced in February 21 when Auckland had their last little blip. So the criteria for this one is an employee needs to miss work to stay at home while waiting a COVID test result, and they cannot work from home. And the payment for this is $350 per eligible worker, and you can only apply once within a 30-day period per worker. But again, there's lots of other criteria on the MSD website, so just jump on there and have a look to make sure you are eligible and you're not breaking the declarations that you're going to have to make when you make the application. These last two applications, I think, will be more suitable for workers, obviously, that are essential businesses, and they're having to have people self-isolate or wait on COVID responses, and they're having to get extra employees in to cover. So this will be more where the businesses out there that are an essential business can keep working, but obviously are having COVID case come into their place of work, and they're needing to self-isolate people. You'll be more looking at these. Any business that can't do any production since we've gone into alert level 4, you'll be more looking at the wage subsidies and the Resurgence support payments there. In terms of other information, there hasn't been any releases from the IRD around tax relief yet, but based off last time rounds, we're expecting them to be quite lenient around relief on penalties and interest as a result of not being able to make, obviously, your GST and provisional tax payments that are coming up in 4 days' time. So just work with your accountant there if you're struggling on a cash flow point of view and need to talk to the IRD around any support that you could have in terms of spreading payments, deferring payments. But I would expect them to come out soon and say that they will provide support or relief to those that need it because they can't make their payments on time due to cash flow with the lockdown situation we're currently in. So just bear that in mind. So that's it in terms of a quick overview in terms of the summary of what's available. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks, Alastair. That was really, really good. There's a lot of information on the government websites, and for people that use that information all the time and read it all the time, like yourself, like accountants, it can be very simple and easy to translate. For others, it can't be. So I'm sure that was really useful for lots of people that were viewing. Hey, look, one of the things that has come up, there's some questions in the chat, which I'll get to, but a couple of things before that. One is the Resurgence payment, Resurgence support payment talks about the requirement to have been in business for 6 months.
Yeah.
So a new business that's been trading for less than 6 months doesn't apply. I'm not seeing any information about the wage subsidy having that same restriction. Have you come across that?
I haven't seen it yet. It might be buried in there somewhere. I know it was definitely in there the first time rounds.
Yeah.
So I think they might be just assuming that everyone is applying that same logic. Again, on the Resurgence subsidy and the wage subsidy, they have said you have to be a viable business going forward.
Yeah.
So obviously keep that in the back of your mind when you're making those decisions around applying for those subsidies, that you might have to have an honest conversation with your advisors around your business. And I hope there's no one out there listening in that's in that situation, but it might be, you might need to have those conversations with your advisors around being, can you continue after this?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Also, Alastair, can you share some light on definitions of employee and part-time and full-time, just to give people some clarity as to how that might work?
Sorry, what was that? So clarification of employees?
Yeah, just clarification on what part-time versus full-time is. And also when you're an employee and when you're not. So shareholders, contractors, those sorts of more tricky grey areas.
Yeah, so employee, so full-time employee is anyone that's working more than 20 hours a week for you. Part-time employee is anyone who's 20 weeks or less working for you. I have had a few questions, obviously, recently around casual employees, which a lot of us tend to forget about. So to calculate what the claim, whether they're full-time or part-time, is you need to average their weekly hours over the last 12 months. If they've been with you less than 12 months, it is from when they're employed to the 17th of August, and average those hours out for what their average weekly hours are. And if it comes out over 20, they're a full-time employee. Under 20, they are a part-time employee. Shareholder employees can be claimed as well. So if you're a shareholder employee, so you're not taking a salary from the business, you might be just taking drawings, but you're working within the business. I would, you would be on a full-time basis, so I'd be claiming under the 20 hours or more. But if you feel that you're a silent shareholder, they're not really working in the business, then you're in a grey area there. I'd probably take advice from your accountant on that rather than just putting it out there and putting the claim in. Contractors, no, because you can't claim them under your business, but the contractor themselves can make a claim under being a sole trader themselves. So you can't claim for them as a contractor. So if you've got subcontractors working for you, no, you can't claim for them in your business, but them as a contractor and a self-employed person can go and make a claim under their own name.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. Another curly one that came through was, what about spouses and partners that are providing support to a business, but they're not on the payroll, but they've been working to provide bookkeeping or admin support in the background, or they've been packing and boxes and shipments ready to get them out, or they've been working behind the scenes, but haven't been going through the payroll. Where do they sit, do you think?
If they're a shareholder, you could classify them as a shareholder employee. Yeah. If they're not a shareholder or not an employee, I would be saying, unfortunately, yes, they've provided support, but no, because they're not an employee. Yeah. Particularly if they're employed by another company, obviously that company will be probably making a claim under them as well, and they'll be getting the wage subsidy there. So, yeah, I would ideally be not making them, particularly if their company they work for has been. But again, just take advice on it before you make the claim. That's great. What I'd be saying there. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got one question which is going to require some crystal ball gazing here, Alastair. It's a great question. Do we think the wage subsidy may be extended beyond 2 weeks?
How long's a piece of string? I honestly, I don't know. I think they might regionalise it. It's hard to say where their thinking's at. I think if you're a business based in Auckland, they will have to come out with some other support package or extend the wage subsidy for another 2 weeks. Based on everything I'm reading, it's looking like it's 2 weekly payments and that's going to be reviewed. So we'll probably hear more towards the end of the week. Obviously with an announcement around lockdown extensions or changes in alert levels, probably Thursday or Friday. That may be coupled with an announcement around wage subsidies, but at the moment it's just the 2 weeks. But yeah, we'll wait and see on that one.
Yeah, hard to guess. And certainly from our perspective as a chamber, we are talking with Ministry of Social Development and our local MPs and making sure that they understand the importance from the business community that if lockdown and all the effects of that carry on, that that wage subsidy continuation is really, really important. So there will be no shortage of advocacy from our end for that. One other question, and it's regarding the Resurgence support payment, and that's whether it is repayable. So we talked earlier around if you meet the criteria, if you don't end up meeting the criteria for any reason that it is, but again, just clarifying that if you meet the criteria, this is not a loan. This is a
so it's not a loan at all. It's effectively they're giving you a support payment, a subsidy to cover any operational cost to your business. So it can be anything. It doesn't, unlike the wage subsidy where it's specifically wages, the Resurgence is anything. It can be rent, it can be power, it can be purchasing materials, anything you need it for. You don't need to pay it back at all. So it's if you qualify, you get the money, and yeah, that's it. And obviously there's no, based on what I read, there's obviously no GST on it as well. So yeah, great. So just if you're unsure on the tax side of any subsidies, I'd just say talk to your accountant on those. But generally speaking, it's pretty clear cut in the declarations and on the RD website.
Good. Look, thank you, Alastair. Thanks again for sharing your time and your knowledge with us, and thanks to Kendons for making you available for this. To everybody that's watching, there will be more information coming out as we know. We're running a second live stream tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. That is going to be with Tony McCone from McCone Consultancy, and Tony's going to be focusing on employment matters. And if you're in a position where you are thinking about the possible need to make changes to people's employment conditions, be that their hours of work, or their rate of pay or their total pay, just taking you through what are your options in that space, what your obligations are, importantly, in that space, and how to move forwards if you are in a position where that's going to be something that you need to do or you think you need to do. Really important to get some information before you act on any of that. Obviously, our Facebook page will be kept up to date, both the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce Facebook page along with our Hutt Valley COVID-19 Business Support Group page. Either of those pages are the place to go to keep up to date with everything we know, and we'll be sending out our Hutt Valley Business Weeklies as well, making sure you know what we know and have the most up-to-date information we can get to you. If you need support, reach out to us at the Chamber, reach out to Kendons, or reach out to your advisors. Don't do this alone. Make sure you're getting the information and getting the support you need. So again, thanks, Alastair. That is us for today. Good luck, everybody out there. Hope you're going well with your lockdown. Stay safe, and we'll catch up tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.